course, as we've been talking about all morning, Luka Doncic returning to Dallas for the first time since being traded earlier this year. His 45 points are the third most in a player's first road game against their former team in history. And the Nuggets, a game after firing Michael Malone, beat the Kings 125-116. On Wednesday night, the Nuggets entered a 4-game losing streak, currently hold the number 4 seed in the West. The Clippers, team we don't talk about enough, clearly, continuing their late surge and beat the shorthanded Rockets 134-117. Kawhi Leonard had his 13th straight 20-point game as the Clippers won their 6th straight and hold the number 5 seed right now in the West. Plus, Warriors suffering a massive upset with a buzzer-beating loss to the Spurs after holding a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Warriors fell to the number 7 seed and would be in the play-in tournament as of now with 2 games remaining. Welcome back, Monica McNutt, David Dennis Jr. David, starting with you here. Outside of Luka, what is your biggest takeaway in the West last night?
It's the Warriors' loss. That's what it is. The Warriors losing to the Spurs. That was a tough loss. It was a bad loss. They should have won the game. They were up double digits, gave away that game at the fourth quarter. Bad turnovers. And what it does is it just decreases the margin of error for this team going into the playoffs. They're probably at best a 6 seed, which means they play the Lakers. Then you're looking at a play-in situation for this team. Big picture, though. The fact is they are 22-6 with Jimmy Butler. They've been having to play playoff-level basketball for pretty much 2 months, 2.5 months, and they haven't gotten any separation because the Wolves were on winning streaks. The Clippers have played tremendous over that time. So they've been having to fight for their lives for that whole time, and it's starting to show with a little bit of that fatigue coming in that fourth quarter. It is imperative for them to not be in the play-in so they can rest for a week going into the playoffs. It was just an ugly, ugly loss, avoidable loss, and it just makes the rest of the season more difficult for this team.
So I was about to ask you, but I think you just answered it. You, in fact, would rather face the Lakers to get in your first round matchup and get out of the play-in versus go through the play-in and take Houston.
So originally, if you asked about 2 weeks ago, I would have said, I would take the 7 seed and play that Rockets team because I have the experience. The Rockets lack that offensive firepower down the stretch. But that team has just gotten so much better. They've been playing so much better defensively, and they have so much energy. They run up and down the court. I'm concerned about the stamina it would take to beat that Rockets team. Also add in the fact that you do not get a built-in break to play that Rockets team. You have to get a play-in team. You have to play maybe even Memphis, maybe Minnesota, who both play the Warriors tough. So that just makes, a tough sled going into the playoffs to face that Rockets team. I kind of like the Warriors' chances against the Lakers. Now, it's not an ideal matchup. It is almost a coin toss, but I think the Warriors do have a shot in beating that Lakers team in the first round, as much as I would not want to see LeBron and Steph in the first round. Can we save that for a conference championship? But, that's just my one quibble.
Spoken like a true ESPNer, for sure, on that one. I agree with you in terms of it being a toss-up. And a couple of weeks ago, I was leaning Warriors in that matchup. I'm trying not to be, too captivated by the performance from last night from the Lakers. That's a very, very tough one to call. And that's not the question, so I'm not going to call it. Here's what is standing out for me in terms of my biggest takeaway, not named Luka Doncic. It is, in fact, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yes.
Listen, 6 straight. Kawhi Leonard has kind of turned back the hands of time in terms of being available. And I know the regular pontificator on this show takes great issue with Kawhi Leonard and his availability. However, I'm going to go ahead and proceed as if this stretch that they're on right now is viable, as we are 3 games out from the playoffs beginning, because it's not just Kawhi Leonard to me. James Harden kept that team afloat during the course of the regular season when they dealt with a number of injuries. Norman Powell is having a terrific year, all-star caliber year. The injury sort of derailed that a little bit for him after all-star break. And then you look at Zubac in terms of the size. As we talk about these teams in the Western Conference, particularly some of the darlings, right? We keep going back to the size that they do or do not have. The Warriors and the Lakers in particular, right? There's a different sort of size thing when you talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves and other bigs that have been able to make Rudy Gobert uncomfortable by their ability to stretch the floor. Memphis, to me, not to the size that they once had when you talk about them. The Rockets, now that's a little bit interesting, as Alperen Sengun is someone who has been compared to a Jokic in terms of his skill set. But if you talk to the Rockets, they don't really feel like those guys are actually that similar. But I think Zubac is sort of a piece that people aren't talking about amongst the identity that the Clippers have been able to develop. They can score, they can defend, they can get to the free throw line. Like, I just think this Clippers squad is a team that is still flying under the radar in a Western Conference where we all have said 2 through 8, if anything crazy happened, it wouldn't even be crazy because of this year.
Well, you know why we don't talk about them, right?
Nope.
We don't want to jinx them. We don't want the health
I
thing.
didn't know that.
The
My bad.
usual thing that happens with the Los Angeles Clippers. They go on this tear during the regular season. Everything's looking good right up to the playoff time. And then there's the Kawhi injury. There's the Paul George injury. And obviously he's not on the team anymore. But, like, I think people are kind of waiting with bated breath just to see what this Clippers team is going to be in the first round, currently cemented as that 5th seed, so they would get the week off. Kawhi Leonard, 13 straight 20-point games. As you mentioned, like, he's playing great basketball right now.
And look, I get it. I totally get all the caution. But I do think that he is still one of the best competitors in the league, one of the best players in the league. And if he's got it, I think he's going to serve it up. You talk about a Clippers opportunity with Ty Lue, stability, kind of moving in the right direction. And however you feel about the Malone shakeup with the Nuggets, if those two run into one another, like, to me, that's a great series. And right now, without all the health for the Nuggets, real quick, David, I actually probably would lean Clippers.
Look, I'll take it a step further. Los Angeles Clippers are the best team in Los Angeles right now. Like, that's just where they are in terms of how they've been playing for these last couple of months. Yes, you could talk about Harden and how he shows up in the playoffs. You could talk about Kawhi and the injury concerns. Now, if both of those things happen, of course, there's this unavoidable Clippers curse, whatever. But they have things to offset. If James Harden shows up small in the playoffs, you have Norm Powell and Kawhi who are playing great who can offset that. If Kawhi comes off hobbled come playoff time, Harden and Powell carried this team. I love what I see from this Clippers team so far. I would not want to face them in the first round. And then let's add another little wrinkle here. I know I'm projecting a little bit further ahead here, but if the Clippers find themselves in a position where they are secure in that 4th seed, they end the season against that Warriors squad. And if you want to stick it to the Lakers, you may want to rest those starters and let the Warriors win that game so they could be in the 6th seed and you get a Lakers Warriors in the first round if you're the Clippers. A little bit of showmanship, a little bit of playing with the numbers there is a possibility if you're Ty Lue and that Clipper squad.
All right, a little fire there from David Dennis Jr. The Clippers ending with Sacramento and Golden State. Coming up next, Cody Bellinger committed the card.
Nhiều được mua thị trường tiêu thụ rồi nó không có thì bán để ăn cái dầu này nó kén người ăn cứ phải 2 cân được.
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Vòng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là bắt ngô. Mọi người hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là ngô nướng. Đây là nó là làm nha. Bây giờ chị không ship được. Không ai cho mình. Không cho tự nhiên lấy.